My name's Ben Helde. I'm the plant records specialist and taxonomist here at Plant Delights Nursery or Juniper Level Botanic Garden. And today we're going to be talking about foliage for shade. There's lots of great diversity of foliage kind of all year round here in the southeast, which is really exciting, both evergreens and herbaceous material that kind of helps bridge the gap between our winter conditions where all of those things will die back. But as opposed to like further north, we have a lot more things that'll continue to be evergreen, which since I am coming from a northern region, that's kind of been a surprise to me this past winter. It's just some of the things that I think of as, I guess, herbaceous perennials, things die back to the ground, kind of stay up for us. If not looking great all winter long, maybe a little ratty, but easy to clean up. So there's lots of great things. And so kind of my idea was to tell you about some of our kind of principles for how we deal with texture, color, form, variegation with our foliage in the shade specifically. And then I have a couple spots that we can just walk and talk, and I can show you some of the ways that Tony has intermixed different things to kind of get certain effects and whatnot. So yeah. I will start, I guess, with color. So color is obviously very important. Flowers are fleeting, but foliage is forever, or at least a season. And so we use foliage color a lot in the garden, as you'll see, to kind of gain different effects. If you get that really nice chartreuse color in foliage, that kind of lightens a really dark space, adding some light and contrast. And then we have a lot of super deep purples and dark colors that make really great contrast plants to those chartreuse, glaucous-y, light colored things. So we'll see a good number of examples of that. Obviously, the most important thing, in my opinion, for foliage is texture. So having, really broad foliage, things that are really great and tropical, give good kind of presence in the garden. And then some other, like this coreopsis here, a lot more frilly texture, a lot of grasses can help soften those edges. And then obviously all sorts of different things in between, different leaf shapes can kind of help diversify. If you want to have a similar shape, like say a heart shape or cordate leaf, you can have them large, like with our Cercis, our native Cercis canadensis, or we have some smaller heart-shaped leaves, so you can kind of use that repetition of leaf shape in the garden to create some of that contrast too. And then finally variegation, similar to foliage color, although a little more striking, as the foliage will have multiple colors within each leaf. So usually we have creams, whites, different shades of green are going to be your most common kind of forms of variegation, and those are usually sports or mutations off of a certain species or existing clone or cultivar. So we utilize a lot of variegation in the garden, especially in the shady areas, similarly to color or using brightly colored foliage. It helps kind of illuminate certain areas and bring your eye directly to one spot. So yeah, let's walk. And our first stop is just right up here, just talking about some different textures and forms. And please help yourself. We have a bar, an Opuntia bar, so be careful and use tongs, but you're more than welcome to take home some Opuntias. It's kind of a fun summer tradition that we have. So. So yeah, yeah, it's quite narrow here, but yeah, if you go past, we'll try to squeeze as many people in here as possible. But this, I think, is a particularly interesting area. We have this Podophyllum, Chinese Podophyllum pleianthum, which is just now starting to begin the process of some foliage going dormant. But this Podophyllum lasts much longer than our native Podophyllum peltatum, and just has that really kind of large, unusual, kind of warped and glossy foliage that makes a big impact, in my opinion. Under this really great fine foliaged Abies bournmuelleriana that kind of has obviously the effect of shading this area, otherwise it would be in pretty full sun right now, but also brings that kind of finer foliage, which is a good contrast to the Podophyllum. This is some really interesting variegation here. On this Asarum kumageanum, this cultivar is Jack Frost, and it has really unusual kind of silvery green speckled on the normal dark green foliage. And that pairs really well with this awesome, this is like a crowd favorite. This Adiantum is like really beloved by many for the shade garden, and myself included, with the black stems kind of contrasting that really fine frilly foliage. And I'm happy to see some of this native Sanguinaria, Sanguinaria canadensis, that generally is considered relatively ephemeral, spring ephemeral, but can obviously keep up. It'll eventually go fully dormant. But yeah, there's just lots of really great foliage and form. This is a great, used to be Schefflera. Let me, the new name is Heptapleurum. That's right, Heptapleurum delavayi. And this is an evergreen shrub in our area. Kind of does similar thing that the many rhodies, our native rhododendrons, do, where it will curl up in the really, really cold conditions to keep the under part of the leaf conserving that heat and energy. So yeah, good mixture of evergreen and herbaceous.
If you have a young one of those, should you keep it in the pot until it gets a little age, like put it in the garage or something instead of putting it out?
How young?
About 2 years.
If it were me, I would probably plant it in the ground, probably in early spring, so it has the longest time without frost to kind of establish itself. But if you want it in the garden eventually, which I imagine you do, I would probably just bite the bullet and throw it in as early as possible so it has the highest probability. But we've found them to be remarkably hardy. So yeah, especially this species delavayi, we've had, I think, probably the best luck with. So.
And do you know which one this is?
This is just a straight species pleianthum. I'm not sure of the provenance, but this is what it would look like theoretically in nature in China. So pretty amazing. Yeah, the fruits have set and either been collected or have fallen, I believe, but they form right at the kind of leaf crotches here, and these are the pedicels, or the pieces that stems that hold the fruit on. Really, really quite an amazing plant. So this is another spot that kind of struck me when I first came in. There's a lot of different things going on here. We have this really unusual conifer, Keteleeria davidiana, which is relatively infrequently grown in our area, but a really, really great performer in our heat and humidity. And then another shade-producing plant in this area is Exbucklandia tonkinensis, which is this tree here right up next to the house. It was planted in that location because it is thought to be a very tender plant, and most people thought that we couldn't really grow it in our area. It turns out this clone, which I believe we have called Kunming champion from Kunming, is obviously quite hardy enough to get to this size. So this is one of the largest specimens I've ever seen, if not the largest. And another great shade producer. It has kind of those English ivy-like foliage in the same family, I believe. And yeah, just a really unusual tree you won't really see anywhere else.
Is there a common name for it?
I imagine there is, but I do not know what it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, unfortunately. But I can get you that after the talk is done.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a pitfall of mine is a common name, so well, I'm working on that always.
My pitfall is
Latin, right? Yeah. But then to get to, I guess, the good stuff, all the herbaceous material under. This is kind of what I was talking about with our purple foliage. This is Oxalis triangularis, a cultivar called Mijke. There's also Atropurpurea, which we sell in the nursery, that has a dark border. This one generally just has that regular purple color throughout. And then great kind of more fine foliage from the ferns. And this is a really, really interesting plant, in my opinion. This is a Rohdea species. that we got from China at some point, and it looks like no other Rohdea we've seen, so we have it as a new species, unpublished new species, but we are going through the process of trying to describe and figure out who this is. And we have kind of different selections of this, I guess, new species throughout the garden, varying sizes and heights and whatnot. But this kind of lighter chartreusey center is pretty unusual for the genus Rohdea, which is one of our distinguishing characteristics in looking at it. I guess now's a good time to talk about understory, or kind of the canopy, the different layers. So like I was kind of alluding to before, we have the canopy layer. In this case, pretty exciting diversity for our canopy layer. And then kind of like the lower shrubs with our aucuba and a bommeria, a few other things. We have some tropical kind of understory. This is a hedychium, or one of the ginger relatives, and a banana as well. And we can grow a good number of palms. That's a trachycarpus, and some species do remarkably well in shadier conditions. And then we have the true understory with our tried and true epimediums that do really well in dry, shady conditions. Eucomis with a nice light green strappy foliage that kind of helps lighten the understory areas. And then once you get really into the nitty gritty on the ground, you can have all sorts of mosses and carexes and little things to plug in here and there. So lots of exciting things to work with, and kind of each different group lends a different seasonality interest, and kind of diversifies what can be seen throughout the year, or what's interesting throughout the year maybe. So,
Does your ginger bloom in this setting?
We do have ginger blooming in these shadier conditions. They generally prefer a little more sun if you want to get good blooms, but they can take dappled light. It often just takes them a while to get to blooming size in our climate, or at least that's been my experience. Different species and cultivars will have all sorts of different flowering characteristics and times, and even just based on the season, depending how cool it was in the spring or when things started to push, can affect when flowering occurs. So.
Are you zone 8?
Yeah, we're considered zone 8A after this most recent USDA update. So 7B, 8A kind of is what I would consider us. 7B for conservative approach. Yeah. All right, on to the next spot. I wanted to highlight this area, specifically this plant, a favorite of mine. This is Fatsia polycarpa. And this is actually a Tony Avent collection from Taiwan. Really kind of, I've been talking about fine foliage and broad foliage, and I think this really is an interesting mixture of both, because it has that really tropical effect while also having these really deep sinuses that give it a little bit more of a frilly effect. So it kind of has the best of both worlds, and the habit with this woody growth and kind of these elongated stems I think is really attractive. Just a really cool plant all around, but it pairs well with all sorts of other stuff that we have in here. I mean, this is another favorite of mine. This is Ethereum niponicum, and we have this as pewter lace, kind of alluding to that lightish, ghosty white silver coloration. Really, really beautiful with Tricertis. I guess we have some flowers on the Tricertis, but even the foliage itself with that broader, kind of rotund but elongated foliage, and also polygonatum in there. And then this is another really cool foliage plant. This is Podophyllum difforme, and the cultivar here is, I think it's Hunan, yeah, Hunan, from Hunan province, and it has these really unusual rectangular leaves. I haven't really seen rectangular leaves on many other plants. It's very unusual. And Hunan has this really unusual kind of like silver-centered X-shaped variegation. Another Podophyllum native to Asia that lasts longer in our summers than our native. So worthwhile to kind of continue that interesting foliage shape and color into the season. And then this is our last stop. This I thought was kind of interesting. There's a lot of green kind of going on here, but I would say it's still very interesting. I really like this magnolia. Magnolia archangel is the cultivar. So it must be a complex hybrid of some sort, I would imagine. Not sure what the parentage is, but creates a really interesting kind of dappled effect with those really large rotund leaves. I love looking up when I'm in places like this because there's like all sorts of different maples and magnolias. This is a really interesting variegated elm, I believe. Yeah, Ulmus parviflora, so a deeply, deeply variegated elm that I believe, from what I've seen of the seedlings that fall in this area, I think it comes relatively true to seed because I've found a lot of variegated seedlings in this area. So that's a really unusual one. But kind of just going off of different shapes and forms, we have a couple different hostas that are complementing one another, but very different in shape and size. We have kind of a more glaucous-y, heart-shaped foliage here on doo-wop, and then a slight variegation, but like that lighter chartreuse color to really lighten up the ground level. And then this is a really cool plant. This is Camellia sinensis, which is the tea camellia. This plant produces white, black, green, oolong, pretty much all of the true teas that we drink. And this is a really cool cultivar. It has some variegation on it. It's called O Kuntz is the cultivar. But this is evergreen and obviously liking it in this understory situation. Got some rhododendrons, some kind of conifers. This is what we call the Metasequoia alae. So we have a lot of these I guess, dawn redwoods, gold foliage dawn redwoods that are deciduous conifers, kind of in the area as well. But yeah, there's endless combinations throughout the garden, as you will find. But I hope this has given you an idea of kind of how to look at different foliage characteristics and think about how you can integrate different styles of foliage into your gardens at home. So yeah, thanks. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to walk around or chat further. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.